Hey Raghunath, tell everyone about our Patreon community.
Sure, Kastuba. The Wisdom of the Sages Patreon community is an incredible online yoga resource. If you like the type of yoga wisdom and culture we share on the show, then our Patreon community is a great next step. This is a listener-supported podcast, and any level of sponsorship will unlock a wide range of live and archived classes, talks, and even workshops.
Raghunath teaches, I teach, and we have a host of other excellent teachers on topics ranging from yoga philosophy, asana classes, storytelling, Ayurveda, kirtan, cooking, meditation, and a lot more.
We even have an incredible online Bhakti 12-step recovery group.
So if you want to check it out, go to patreon.com/wisdom of the sages.
All right, let's get it on.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Live from Carroll Gardens, New York, in Brooklyn, this is Wisdom of the Sages, a daily yoga podcast with your host, Raghunath, and co-host and senior educator at the Bhakti Center, New York, Kastuba Das. Welcome to the show, everybody. Welcome to Brooklyn.
Yeah,
we made it back. It's Walk on Wednesday. We have a Walk on Wednesday guest today, but just checking in with you, Kastuba.
okay. Carroll Gardens is such a nice neighborhood.
It's a great neighborhood. My brother lives here, and we stayed here. We were going to get a hotel. But we realized hotels cost like $900 a night in New York City. We can't afford it. But my brother's got a beautiful place here, and so we're staying here.
Nice.
We had a wonderful date in New York. Yeah,
They say the best pizza place in New York, not that I go to these places, but I know that you might, Raghunath. They say the best pizza place in New York now is in Carroll Gardens.
Oh, really? Give me a name.
I forget the name, but I'll find it out for you.
We went to a really good gluten-free Italian place called Sanza Gluten. Very good and very charming, wasn't it, Mara?
It was charming. It was adorable.
Oh, it was a day, Kastuba.
Oh, you two just had a
day. You know, we were like, you know what?
date.
Let's try Maya. Let's see how it is. And you know what? Maya's really good, actually. It's really,
But
really.
today it's going to be
fun.
like, now what?
We checked in with Kastuba on a regular basis
They
throughout our
did.
entire day. Send him
Yes,
pictures.
and I
Yeah,
kept
we
sending
sent pictures.
responses.
We sent wherever we were. We sent pictures of us holding pinkies. First one was at a vegan Chinese restaurant in Chinatown.
And the donut.
No,
place.
truthfully, there's nothing.
How many restaurants did you
do.
go to yesterday?
There's nothing to do except eat and
Eat.
purchase things
That's right.
or ride a bike in Central Park. Truthfully, that's all the material world is. We chanted a lot. Chanted japa and walked, man. I walked miles.
That's New York. You walk around.
Walked miles.
I love it.
And then we went to a comedy club, but it was a little underwhelming.
Risque.
It wasn't
It
so
wasn't
risque,
risque.
but it was like, I didn't laugh as much as I thought. I've been to this place a lot of times. A tiny little place, and like famous people drop in.
Nobody
And
dropped in.
I went there once, and Jerry Seinfeld dropped in. I kid you not.
All right.
And last night, Mark Norman dropped in. Cindy knows who that is. He's a pretty popular guy. But it wasn't funny. I didn't laugh so much. Not as much as I usually laugh. Not as much as I laugh when I'm on the show.
You see?
Anyway, then we went to Rockefeller Center.
You did.
She fumbled ice skating like a newborn colt. I picked her up. We spun her around. I spun. I grabbed her in my arms. I threw her in the sky, kept spinning, grabbed her on the way down. We laughed. We hugged.
Did you
We
go there for
cried.
real?
We did figure eights. Not at all. Didn't do that at all.
You can
We
go
didn't
to
go to-
Central
we didn't
Park
go to-
too. You know,
we
it's a
didn't
much
go to
bigger
Rockefeller.
rink.
I'm joking. We didn't ice skate. That's not in. No, I'm over the ice skating age.
Okay, I'm over the banter. Let's
Okay,
let's move
sorry.
on.
Let's bring on Jamuna Jelly. She's our Walk on Wednesday today. Hi, Jamuna.
Yeah,
Where'd she go?
there she is.
Unmute yourself, Yamuna.
There we go.
Hare Krishna.
Hello. Yamuna.
Hey, Yamuna Jelly, how are you?
I'm very well. It's so fun to be here with you both. All of you, actually.
She
Well-
heads up the Happy Girl Kitchen.
There's a lot of
Good
happy
point, right?
things going on in that transcendental kitchen. You want to share about what you do? I mean, a lot of people know you, but maybe people who don't. Explain Happy Girl Kitchen. You got a big, massive following of people that buy your
Yeah.
products.
So last night I got home at like 11:30 after teaching a sourdough bread baking workshop.
You see that?
Ooh,
Mayor's lighting up over there. Yeah, okay.
Mara's getting envious. Oh, so
It's not like that.
you think she can top me?
Collusion.
Stop.
Mara and I
Coast
really love
competition.
each other. We're excited to share all of our secrets with each other, Raghunath.
Oh, you see
Yeah,
that?
We can't be pitted against each other.
You can't, no matter how hard you try.
No.
All right.
Okay, so you're
We
doing
also make
Yeah.
we make all sorts of. Yesterday we were making apple butter and fresh
Oh.
apple cider.
Okay.
Wow.
We preserve the local harvest. We cook from scratch. It's a breakfast and lunch vegetarian place. We do kids camps, kids culinary camps. So we just do a ton of things.
Kids culinary
Um,
camp.
Kids culinary camp. You're a genius. You have a beautiful family. You're a genius. I'm looking at your website right now.
She's got a
look at
great
it.
book out called It Starts with Fruit.
Oh yeah, book
Oh,
starts
wow.
with fruit. So, anything that you could do with food, I just love to play with food. It's fun.
I love to eat the food you play with. And she's got lots of different like designer gourmet jams, cutting edge pickled party packs.
What are those other things called? The things you make drinks out of?
Shrubs.
Infusion
Shrubs.
shrubs and
Yeah.
elixirs.
Yeah.
Anyway, so we did last year and it was very successful, a Wisdom of the Sages gift box, and we have it again this year as well. You want to
Yeah, it
share
is.
about that?
Okay. For all of you live on Zoom, I brought one here.
Ooh.
Ooh, a gift box.
Ooh.
Let's spotlight that.
And so it's just a really fun way for us to share Wisdom of the Sages. And so there's a card explaining our collaboration, how much I love listening to the podcast every day, how much it's affected my life.
Uh-huh.
And so in the box, there's jars of offered jams. I kind of set it up so there's a little bit of each of your personalities in the
Mhm.
selection.
Okay.
Oh, get it?
We
8
did-
ounces of orange rosemary marmade, sweet and sophisticated like Kostuba. 8 ounces of sweet and spicy pickled peppers like Raghunath. And 8 ounces of plum cinnamon jam, sweet and hardworking like Mara. Okay, so you got 3 jars.
Yes, 3
That it?
jars in your little gift box.
Okay. A spiritual, and you get a
Then-
spiritual books. Okay, sorry.
Yeah, let her tell it, Raghunath.
You got to talk it though.
A
You
little
can't just show it.
stack here. Oh yeah, right. So we of course love to just hand out the books. So within it you get the Bhagavad Gita,
What?
Higher Taste, which is a little
Cookbook.
classic Hare Krishna cookbook.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
I also put in a mantra meditation guide
Oh, wow.
Here's the
and
third one.
another small book.
Did she
sort
freeze?
of
Did I
random.
freeze?
This one
Did
has-
Kostuba
She's,
freeze?
she's still going, Raghunath.
Oh, the journey of self-discovery. So 3 books in the box and the prasadam and a little incense stick too.
Beautiful. And so people can order that and give it as a gift, and you'll just ship it wherever they tell you to ship it?
Yeah, we'll ship it. And you can include a little gift note, a little personal gift note in there. And for Wisdom of the Sages listeners, if you just punch in the coupon code, we know that Raghunath loves coupon codes.
I love
yeah.
them.
So we had to
I
put
love
that
them.
in there.
Thank you.
And it's just wisdom.
Wisdom.
You keep it easy.
Wisdom.
Keep the coupon code easy. Wisdom. Okay. And it gets there
Get
before the holidays.
10% off. Yeah, through the holidays, just order it, send it out. It's a lot of fun.
Okay, so it's happygirlkitchen.com. And then
Yeah.
you go to collections and you'll find the Wisdom of the Sages collection. This was huge. You know what's great about it? It's a great way. You know, we're not really into preaching to people and free. We are into just like being here at Wisdom of the Sages.
Is it?
Hare Krishna 2.0. We're
Okay.
just being spiritual. But once you give that prashad, They don't even know what's hit them. They're like, oh, this is quite delicious. And they're tasting God.
I tell you,
That's
that
what's going on.
cinnamon plum one, that's a favorite over here. You got a
Really?
good
I like
one.
the
Ooh.
sweet and spicy pickled peppers. All right, so check that out, please. Happy Girl Kitchen. Get on her mailing list. Also, she's got a great product. You know what I want people like you cooking all my food. That's what it really boils down to.
Pure-hearted people.
Pure-hearted people. She's a
Just
pure-hearted
come out to the West
woman.
Coast. I'll cook for you guys. Come out to the West Coast. I
Next
would
time we
love
go to
to.
the West Coast, we have to do this, Ergonas.
I know.
Okay,
I'm
we're going on Happy
really
Girl
okay.
Kitchen.
I'm in. Okay, Jamuna, thank you for joining us. We love you. And so everybody
Hi,
here,
Krishna.
get your Wisdom of the Sages gift box. Give it as a gift to an unknowing relative. It's better than the old days of me just giving. Oh, Ray gave us incense again this year. This is a whole deluxe package of prasadam jelly here. It's quite wonderful. There's lots of other, even if you don't get a Wisdom of Sages one, there's a lot of other great stuff you can get on our website. I want to join your
Yeah, and you
jam.
get
I want to join your
10%
jam
off
club.
of everything. Oh,
10%
I want to
off
join your
anything.
jam club.
Okay.
Okay,
Let's keep it rolling here.
we're going rolling.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jamuna. Narayanam
thank you. Hare Krishna.
namaskrityanadam chayeva narotamam devim saraswatim vyasam tatojayam madirayat. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is our very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances to the Supreme Lord Narayan, unto Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and to Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Nasta prayesha badreshu nityam bhagavat sevaya bhagavati utamashloke bhakti bhavati naishtaki. By regular attendance in classes in the Bhagavatam and by rendering service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome in the heart will become eradicated. And loving service to the Supreme Lord, who is praised with transcendental songs, will be established as an irrevocable fact. Om Gyana Timarandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chaksurun Milatam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkness of ignorance. My teachers are opening my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my obeisances at their lotus feet.
Reading from Canto 4, Chapter 29, Text 66.
All right, Kastuba, you there?
I'm here.
All
Should we
right.
get a little recap?
Recap us, please.
So we're coming towards the end of the conversation between Narda, the great sage, and King Prachinabarishat. And at the end, towards the end here, the king asked a question. He was like, well, hold, there's still something I don't get here, right? You're telling me that based on our previous activities, it determines our next birth. We may go up. If we cultivate good karma, do good activities, we may go up to the higher planets and enjoy there, or we may go downward. It could go different ways. But he says, but I don't get it, because the body that created that karma disappears. So then what's the connection? And Narda is saying the gross body, you could say, right? That tangible physical body, that certainly disappears. It gets burned on the funeral pyre, right? But he says, but the mind goes with the soul. And so all the desires that created those activities and all of the, you even as we're living, how we live, the choices that we make, they begin to shape our mind in particular ways. And he said, and then you take that shaped mind and you carry it with you into the next body. So when you enter in that new body, you have all these, some dormant, some not dormant, desires and inclinations and memories and karma, right? It's all coming to the next body with you. And to help him understand this, but he starts to talk about dreams. Right? Because like in a dream state, our body is just lying there and we're moving around with our desires and with our experiences and with our memories and so on, disconnected from the body. And so he's using this as an example, but it's interesting things are coming up about dreams and so on, in the conversation. All right.
All right. I've got a lot of deep realizations today. I'll share them with you later.
After the show?
No, during the show. Smart aleck. Wonder what the origins of smart aleck are.
I read something about that recently, actually.
Smart
it's funny
aleck.
you say that.
Look that up, Mara. Text 66. O King, all good fortune unto you. The mind is the cause of the living entities attaining a certain type of body in accordance with his association with material nature. According to one's mental composition, one can understand what the living entity was in his past life, as well as what kind of body he will have in the future. Thus, the mind indicates the past of and future bodies.
Interesting, right? So it's like just by looking at where you're at now, we can understand a bit about how you were thinking in your previous life, right?
Okay, this just in.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys
All
want
right,
this around on this.
you're blowing the flow here. You're cutting. You're breaking the flow.
Well, it had to do with a criminal in the 1840s.
Okay.
Criminal 1840s
He
was
was too smart for his own good.
Right.
Interesting. Smart
Police
aleck.
slang.
Police slang. A smart aleck.
This led to his arrest.
Okay. Smart aleck. Sometimes the mind of the living entity continues to exist
Hold
in
it. You
various.
skipped a verse. Ragnar.
Sometimes we're not going by twos today. Sometimes in a dream we see something never experienced or heard of in this life.
Mhm.
But all these incidents have been experienced in different times, in different places, in different conditions. Wow.
There's a reason why he's saying this, right?
The
He's
mind of the
saying-
living.
But we don't have to talk about it. You don't want to.
Tell me. Go.
No, but should I ask you? Why do you think he's talking about this right now?
Because they're talking about the impressions and
I
the
can't hear you
samskaras.
anymore. You're muted.
They're talking about the
You're
impressions and
unplugged or something.
what?
Can't hear you
Check,
at
check,
all.
check.
Come on back, Ragnar.
Check.
All right. While Raghunat's trying to get it together, I will talk about why I think Nard is discussing all this, and it has to
Check.
do with
Check.
He's saying that
Check.
if in our mind we
weird.
experience something in a dream, that's something that we've never experienced in this life before, then that's a type of evidence to prove that we must have another life. We must have existed in another body. Otherwise, those impressions wouldn't be there for us to recall, right? In a dream, it's bringing up memories from the past. It's reaching down into the storehouse of our subconscious mind, and visions or events, or sounds, things that we've experienced previously rise up to the surface of the mind. And he's saying, imagine, I think it's a little hard for us to fully grasp this in the world that we live in today, because we live in a world of like television and film and so on. So like kind of we've seen everything. So,
Right.
Like in other words, imagine that you were like lived and were born in, centuries ago. Let's say like in West Bengal, right? Like West Bengal is like mostly entirely flat. I think in the very northern parts of Bengal, there's like the foothills of the Himalayas. But for the most part, it's like a big plain. And if you were born there like hundreds of years ago, let's say before cars, before planes, before trains, then you may have been born on like a big flat piece of land, and you may have never traveled too far from your home, because to get far, maybe you don't own a horse or anything like that. You're not going very far. So maybe in your life, you only travel, 10 or 20 miles from where you live. That wouldn't be an uncommon thing.
Wait.
And if you lived in this part, in like a part of the world like that, you may have never in your life seen a mountain, right?
Right.
You certainly
Can you
never
hear me?
flew on an airplane. So imagine you have a dream,
Hello?
and in that dream you're flying and you're looking down on the land from like a perspective of like thousands of feet in the air. You would have never had the ability in that life. Not only have I never been up that high in this life, but I've never seen a television show of being that high. I've never seen it on a screen. I've never seen it portrayed in any way. Yet still, it came to me in a dream. So Nard is saying that right there is evidence. It couldn't have come to you if you hadn't experienced it. You would have had no memory to draw on if you hadn't experienced it at some time. And the fact that you never experienced it in this life, it indicates that you must have experienced it in a previous life. And the fact that you can recall something in your mind from a previous life indicates that your mind goes with you from one body to the other, right? It tells us something about ourselves and our conditioning. Raghunath, what's
Kostuba,
going
they
on?
can hear us. They can hear me. You can't hear me. This is crazy.
I
Read the
can't hear a
board.
word you're saying,
Read
Raghunath.
the board. Look.
Why don't you
Point
try a
to
new
the board.
microphone or something like that?
No,
You're
this
asking
is
me
it's
to do
you.
something, to
It's
unmute
you. It's
What?
not me.
Why
So
don't you
listen,
type-
everybody.
Can't hear
Kostuba,
the-
how can
Oh, I'm-
I was like, what's going on? Everyone's writing on the board.
Oh.
They can hear. We can hear you.
okay,
was beautiful,
my
Kostuba.
headphone came out, and I thought it was you. I'm sorry.
Blame Raghunath. Blame the screwball. I get it.
I'm
I get how
sorry.
this works, Kostuba.
I'm sorry.
But it was very
My
good.
bad.
It
My
was very
bad.
good.
What was good? Oh, what I was saying? Did it make
What you were
sense?
saying was very good.
Okay. Maybe I just needed a chance to say it without you.
Maybe you just needed to
interrupting me.
mute me. You can do that occasionally. And pull
Were
your
you
headphones.
talking the whole time I was talking, or
Yeah,
was-
we were talking like, whoa. Talk about secret things. We thought no one could hear us.
All right.
All right, let's continue on.
So did that make sense to you, Raghunath?
Yeah. Yes, it did.
Okay, so that's what's happening here, right? Nardus, it's a pretty interesting piece of evidence, is it not?
Yeah.
And
Yes, it is.
and I think, what was it, Raghunath?
I don't know. I was also trying to figure out this microphone thing. Like I
Okay.
was going through chords,
Well, here's my point.
yelling at Mara.
I'm sorry. This is all my fault, Raghunath. It's all my fault.
It's-
But I think it's a little hard. Again, I think it's a little hard for us to grasp the significance of this in the world that we live, because it's almost like anything that could come up in a dream, we've probably seen it in a movie, or we've seen it, but like
Right.
people lived other lives where you never would get like a view, like maybe even never had like a mountaintop view in your life, or
Yeah.
And so if your mind is drawing from, if going deep into the subconscious and pulling up images in dreams, they had to come from somewhere. And if you didn't experience them in this life, then he's saying then that's evidence right there.
You know what they
that we-
say? They
we
say that
existed in a
people.
previous life.
They say that people who are blind. Maybe you could search this one out, Mara.
Sometimes they
People who are
see
blind can see in their
dreams.
in their thoughts, even though they've never seen. How would they be able to do that? Can you Google that? If people
Can
are blind,
people see in their
can they
thoughts?
see what people are? I think this is true. They can see in their mind what people look like or what places look like. How can that be if they've never seen? And we say it's from a previous life.
Oh,
Okay. Let's continue on though. Mara will do that intel. Text. She's got it already.
68. Right, she's
Well, according to Google G, they say while people blind since birth do indeed dream in visual images, but they do it less often and less intensely than sighted people. I don't know how they could.
What do they
compare them.
see?
They dream more often. They dream more often and more intensely in the other senses, in sound, smells, and touch sensations.
Yeah, but
That is fascinating.
Well, that makes total sense. I mean,
Well, that makes sense, but I'm curious if they actually can see like mountains in their
That's what
dreams,
I'm
or
asking.
birds. That's what I
Any-
thought.
anything on that, Mara?
Anything on that? All right, I'm gonna send her back into the lab. Do more research, please, Mara,
Okay.
on that one. Text 69.
68.
Text 68. The mind of the living entity continues to exist in various gross bodies. And according to one's desires for sense gratification, the mind records different thoughts.
Mhm.
In the mind, these appear together in different combinations. Therefore, these images sometimes appear as things never seen before or never heard.
So he's saying that they can
Interesting.
also blend and mix, right? You may,
Sure.
you may have never seen a mountain made of gold, but you've seen gold and you've seen a mountain, then your mind puts them together.
Right.
But you have to have experienced gold, and you have to have experienced the mountain to get a golden mountain in a dream.
Sure. Text 69. Krishna consciousness means constantly associating with the Supreme Personality of Godhead in such a mental state that the devotee can observe the cosmic manifestation exactly as the Supreme Personality of Godhead does.
Mm.
Such observation is not always possible, but it becomes manifest exactly like the dark planet known as Rahu, which is observed in the presence of the full moon.
Okay.
Mm.
So that's saying that it's using another analogy, the planet Rahu.
Very
Which
interesting here.
i-
We could
is
lose some
something-
people over this one.
Okay.
There is an invisible planet called Rahu closer than the moon.
And it's saying that you can only see it on a full moon, like, its visibility may become apparent. I think particularly they may mean during an eclipse, right?
During
It's
the
like-
eclipse, yeah. Chief Pags is like, I'm out of here. What? It's an invisible planet. Now you've taken, okay, God's a cowherd boy. Okay, Brahma has 4 heads. I can buy that. Invisible planets. What?
So
I remember the first time I heard that, I was a little, but
So
why
it's-
not? Why not?
well, yeah, let's keep it in a context here. It's saying that there's some things that are there that only become revealed at a certain time, right? That were there all
Yeah.
along, and then at a certain point it became revealed, oh, that's there. And so this is saying that there's a way that we can see everything. We're walking around in different states of illusion. We're walking around in a dream. We're walking around in dreams within dreams. But we can reach a state of consciousness where we see the world from its true perspective. Here it's saying from the perspective of God, right? You could see it from from the ultimate perspective. And but it has to be revealed under the right conditions, just like Rahu may not normally be seen, but at a certain point, boom, it's seen. I got a little nugget here for you, Raghu. Okay.
Okay.
It's about dreams.
Oh,
And,
okay.
and it's coming from the spiritual scientist.
Okay. Hit me.
Right? Spiritual scientist Chaitanya Charan, who does Daily Gita, and so many other things. Spiritualscientist.com.
One of our regular guests.
One of our regular guests. So he writes, Gita wisdom explains that we are eternal souls on a multi-life journey of spiritual evolution. Okay, that's a nice boiled down.
Yeah, nice way to put it.
Explanation, right? We are eternal souls on a multi-life journey of spiritual evolution. Whatever appears real and consequential to us during this life, in our next life will become inconsequential and even unrecallable. Right? You with me, Raghu?
I'm beyond with you. I'm living this. This was
Okay.
my realization yesterday. You've
Okay.
tapped into my psyche, Prabhu.
With
This is a Krishna miracle.
Okay,
You
well,
understand?
Let me just complete it, and then you can
Okay, all
share.
right.
Like,
Okay, go.
All right. I'll repeat that again. Whatever appears real and consequential, my job, my circumstance, my family, where I live, the nation, the struggles that we're going through, all these things. Whatever appears real and consequential to us in this life, in our next life, becomes inconsequential and even unrecallable. We won't even be able to recall it. Can't even pull it back, right? Because consequential things in our present experience turn inconsequential with the passage of time, as they do in a dream, we can be said to be in a dream.
We're in a dream.
Right.
That's what I've concluded after
But that's
walking
a real
through.
practical way to put it, I think,
It's a great way to put it. My walking through Manhattan yesterday was like walking in a dream.
Where are you?
I was like a spirit soul.
Okay.
And I've lived in New York in the 80s. I've lived there in the 90s. Not the entire decade, but like a few years each time.
Okay.
80s, 90s,
And then-
2000s.
What did we call those again?
The
Aughts?
aughts. And in the post-aughts, whatever that, the 2000 teens. Actually, maybe anyway, whatever I did, I've lived there for decades or I've experienced life in the day, and I have different experiences and different friends, and there were different bad neighborhoods and different good neighborhoods and different stores I would frequent and different people I lived with, different people I dated or were married to, and it's just like they're not there. Everything has changed. You don't have to worry about that bad neighborhood. It's not a bad neighborhood anymore. Hey, where's that pizza place? That's completely gone. This building's demolished, and this is a new and it's sort of like no one's there. It's like I was Rip Van Winkle. I fell asleep. No one knows who I am. I don't know anybody else. The place has changed. Yet I have a memory of being here, of walking these streets, of having an emotion here, of having a sadness here, or a joy here, or a friendship here. And it's just like, it's almost like traveling through lifetimes. Because let's face it, each decade, you become almost a different person with different friends, different universe of people in your life. I felt like the soul traveling through different bodies historically.
But Strand Bookstore is still there, Raghunath.
It's completely different though. It's like nice now. It used to be sort of grimy.
It is grimy.
I went to the Strand
go
yesterday.
downstairs?
I went all over.
All right. Yeah.
The donut plant is sort of eternal.
Yeah, it's hanging in there. Now let's
Okay.
hear a little bit from what. Let's read this verse again, and let's hear a little of the commentary. Okay.
All right.
So
The verse
Krishna
again.
consciousness mean. Yeah, go ahead, hit it.
Krishna consciousness means constantly associating with the Supreme Personality of Godhead in such a mental state that the devotee can observe the cosmic manifestation exactly as the Supreme Personality of Godhead does. Such observation is not always possible, but it becomes manifest exactly like the dark planet known as Rahu, which is observed in the presence of the full moon. I know you
Okay.
like to skip over things like that, but that's a very interesting thing, Rahu,
Let's
the
skip.
invisible planet.
keep
You're like,
on going.
you skipped right over it.
Well,
I have to
it was
bring
an
those things to
analogy
light
to
for our
illustrate
people.
something else. So
I understand, but people need to understand what Rahu is too.
Yeah, well, that'll come up in the 8th canto. We'll get there.
Okay.
When we get to the 8th canto.
Or you want to hear this purport?
Yeah, but I want to know only parts of it.
Okay.
Because we talk about Rahu too much.
Maybe Prabhupada wants to talk about Rahu too. Maybe you want to try to
We're gonna skip over
control.
that. Okay, ready? It says, "It has been explained in the previous verse that all desires on the mental platform become visible one after another. Sometimes, however, by the supreme will of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the whole stockpile, think about this, Raghunath, the whole stockpile can become visible all at once. In the Brahma Samhita, it is said, Karmadi nir dahati kintu cha bhakti bhajam. Did you ever learn that one, Raghunath?
I don't know that one.
That's the one, Tasvendra Gopa Matavendra Hahosvakam, about
I don't know that one.
You do know it, though. Maybe you don't know the Sanskrit, but that's the one, like, from the Indra down to the Indra Gopa germ.
Oh,
Everyone's getting their karma, right?
That's another thing we can talk about, the Indra Gopa germ.
Okay.
Interesting stuff.
You have to have another podcast that's just like where you can really just play this stuff out all the time. Today we're talking about the Indra Gopa germ.
Indra Gopa germ's a thing. It's a thing that people need to know about.
Okay.
Okay, go ahead.
So Prabhupada's saying here that we have a stockpile of desires, and thoughts on the mental platform, and he's saying that it's possible we could view it all at once, right?
Mm-hmm.
So he says the whole stockpile can become visible at one time. In Brahma Samhita, text 554, it is said, Karmadi nirdahati kinchu cha bhakti bhajam. When a person is fully absorbed in Krishna consciousness, their stockpile of material desires is minimized, Raghunath. Like we go through many lifetimes thinking about things, desiring things, seeing things, acting in certain ways that's forming the mind to develop more desires, and you're building this whole karmic stockpile, right? And he's saying that when you say, I want to turn my consciousness away from the karmic stockpile and creating new karmic stockpiles, and I want to focus it on the root of all existence in a loving connection, once you do that, your stockpile just starts to shrink.
Right.
Interesting, right?
Stockpiles, yeah.
So now he goes on. No living entity is free from the cycle of birth and death unless they take to Krishna consciousness, unless they take to connecting to that eternal source, right? Therefore, in this verse, it is clearly stated, Satvaika Nishte, that when one is fully absorbed in Krishna consciousness, in one stroke, they are freed of past and future mental desires. Then by the grace of the Supreme Lord. Now we're talking about grace here, right? The whole karmic thing is not a grace thing. It's like it's an automatized thing, right?
Right.
I act this way, I get a result, right? It shapes my mind in a particular way. And you kind of
push and pull and
yeah. Now you're turning the other way, and this element of grace begins to enter the picture. It's like, hey, you don't have to necessarily pay the price for everything that you've done, because you're indicating that I want to be reformed. I want to operate on the level of pure love, right? So then by the grace of the Supreme Lord, everything becomes simultaneously manifest within the mind. In this regard, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, very important sage himself, cites the example of Mother Yashoda seeing the whole cosmic manifestation within the mouth of Lord Krishna. By the grace of Lord Krishna, Mother Yashoda saw all the universes and planets within the mouth of Krishna. Similarly, by the grace of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, a Krishna conscious person can see all of their dormant desires at one time and finish all of their future transmigrations. This facility is especially given to the devotee to make their path clear for returning back to Godhead. Now listen to this, Raghunath, okay? You're going to like this.
I'm listening.
Okay. Why we see things not experienced in this life is explained herein. That which we see in the future expression of a gross body, that which we see is the future expression of a gross body or is already stocked in our mental stockpile. Because a Krishna conscious person does not have to accept a future gross body, their recorded desires are fulfilled in a dream. We therefore sometimes find things in a dream never experienced in our present life. You with me there? You see, so he's saying like we've got to pay a certain karmic price for everything that we do. It may be pleasant or unpleasant.
Yeah.
And it stockpiles really tall and it plays out over many lifetimes. And as we're playing it out over many lifetimes, we're creating the future karma coming our way. And it's all because we've opted into the automated karmic realm. But if we pick up the lessons, if we evolve through these lessons and say, you know what, this is not my home, and this whole automated karmic system, I'm not interested in manipulating it. I'm interested in reconnecting with my original source. That just that lesson itself is enough. Just that conviction that I don't want the blue pill, I want the red pill. It's enough to say, okay, we don't need to go through this whole reformatory process with you, or we're going to minimize it, shrink it down so that it's working for you. And some of the things that you're meant to experience in future lives, you can experience in a dream and just kind of like kind of go through it very quickly.
Magic
what about
stuff.
Maybe that has to do with the waves that you've been dreaming about, Raghunath.
Maybe.
All right.
Interesting stuff.
Maybe it's a future body that was going to get drowned, but since you're going back to Godhead, that's why it's just in your dream.
Mara has
Either that or it's
spoken. I'm
repressed
going back
sexual,
to Godhead.
Either it's that or it's repressed sexual desire. One of the two.
Could be either.
I have no repressed sexual desire.
Okay. All right.
I don't think I do. I'm just not there.
Okay.
Okay.
70.
As long as there exists the subtle material body composed of intelligence, mind, senses, sense objects, and the reactions of the material qualities, the consciousness of false identification and its relative objective, the gross body, exist as well.
Okay.
What?
But as long as you're maintaining and staying in that material thought process, and as long as you're fully engaged in the connection between the mind and the senses and what they experience as being truth, and as long as that becomes the realm in which you operate, then you're going to have a gross body to move around into. It all comes together.
Right, that makes sense. 71. When the living entity is in deep sleep, when he faints, when there are some
states
great
of consciousness are being described.
Right? Yeah, deep sleep is when there's some great shock on the account of severe loss, right? At the time of death, or when the body temperature is very high, the movement of the life air is arrested. At that time, the living entity loses knowledge of identifying the body with the self.
Interesting. He's saying even in these, we see you go into a state of deep sleep. It's only relatively recently, Raghunath, that like at least what we have in our modern experiments in sleep, like for instance, REM, right?
Yeah, REM, sleep.
What does REM mean?
Rapid eye movement.
Rapid eye movement, right? So they only within, 5 or 6 decades or something like that. I don't know, that they started doing experiments, like kind of see like based on putting probes, brain probes and, probes on the eyelids and so on, seeing that, we can recognize that people are going through different states of awareness in sleep every night. And we practically all go through the rapid eye movement. They can sense, the eyes are moving rapidly. That's when you're most like dreaming most vividly. Right. So, but deep sleep is another state. where there's like practically, it seems like there's practically almost no consciousness.
Like you're zonked out. Yes.
But the ancient yogic texts say that it's not that you're entirely gone, because when you wake up, you feel refreshed and you feel like, oh, I was just sleeping deep. So something had to be there.
Right.
But it's almost like you're completely turned off.
Right.
And then there's rapid eye movement, means that now you're quite active. You may be more active in the dream, exhausting yourself, than you may actually. You ever wake up like, oh my God.
Exhausted from a dream.
Yeah. And so here, there's given an example of deep sleep is one example of a state of consciousness. Fainting is another one. Great shock, yeah, that one might experience. When your body temperature goes super high, in all these different states,
Fever.
there's a disconnection from the prana,
Right.
with the self. And it says the living entity loses knowledge of identifying the body with the self in those states. So even in one lifetime, we can experience a disconnection between the self and the body.
Mm-hmm. Interesting.
Mm.
All right, 72. When one is a youth, all the 10 senses and the mind are completely visible. However, in the mother's womb or in the boyhood state, the sense organs and the mind remain covered,
Mm-hmm.
just as the full moon is covered by darkness of the dark moon night. Interesting. What does that mean? What does this mean?
It seems to me like it's saying that the full moon is there, but we don't see it on a dark moon night, right? But we know it's there.
Right.
And similarly, like it seems to be referring to sexual.
Well, everything probably can't. Maybe the child or the child in the womb, they're not actively, their senses aren't fully functioning.
Definitely that's there. And then even in the boyhood state, like for instance, it's so common, right? Like you talk to a little boy or a little girl, right? And the little boy's like, well, I hate girls. And the little girl's like, I hate boys, right? And everybody says, oh, just wait. It's like everybody knows the desire is there, right? It's just buried.
Stupid talks about kids as if you talk to them on a regular basis.
Okay. I do talk to I do live in this world. Okay, I do talk to kids sometimes.
Do you like boys? Do you like girls? No.
Okay. And so my point is that we know the full moon is there on a dark moon night. We know that those desires are sitting there dormant in the mind, and it's just a matter of time before they arise.
Thank you. When the living entity dreams, the sense objects are not actually present. However, because one is associated with the sense objects, they become manifested, right? Your desires are there. Similarly, the living entity with the undeveloped senses does not cease to exist materially, even though he may not be exactly in contact with the sense objects.
Okay, so we're passing through different stages, right? And again, in the womb, in childhood, we always have that mind with us, although we're going through all different varieties of bodily existence in all different kind of stages, even in the course of one night of sleep, even in the course of one body as a human being, or what to speak of as we go through many different bodies in the course of different lifetimes. We're moving around with that stockpile of desires, with the stockpile of subconscious images and impressions. And they play out in a variety of different ways.
Hey, you want to meet us for dinner tonight?
Want to have dinner?
Yeah. Let's go to Divya's.
It's just getting too boring for you. You started thinking about food again.
I was thinking to hang out with you today. Why not? Why aren't we hanging out with Stuba? That's what I was thinking.
We could have you over our place if you like, or I could meet you at Divya's or something like that. But I'm not going to your quaint little gluten-free Italian place. None of that.
Okay. There's a devotee chef. Just kidding.
Was it? Oh, yeah.
No. He's like, what?
No, I would love to hang out tonight.
Okay. The 5 sense objects, the 5 sense organs.
I might even give you a gift rather than the Christmas gift.
Oh, I love getting gifts.
I know. You told me you wanted one. So I was thinking, let me get Rogan another gift.
I love getting gifts.
Have a gift. It's used, but I think you'll like it.
Like a shoe?
No, not
one shoe.
I'm not going to give you a used shoe. It's a really nice shoe, though, right?
I went to a vintage clothing store yesterday, and I was thinking they had all these vintage sneakers. I was thinking for devotees, they're like, I don't want to wear other people's sneakers.
Yeah, I like that. The vintage stores
You're
used to be
you're
like,
taking part of their karma when you put on someone else's shoes.
when we were kids, you go to the vintage stores and you get really cool clothes really cheap. Now you go to the vintage stores,
They're
it's
more
like
expensive.
super expensive.
They're
It's
more
more
expensive
expensive than
than regular
normal
clothes.
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, that's what it is.
Okay.
There used to be a warehouse. There used to be a place
Yes, in Brooklyn, the warehouse of vintage old clothes. Remember that place?
in Williamsburg that you would buy
Yes.
clothes by the pound.
You buy them by the pound. All cool, old-fashioned clothes.
Yeah, crazy.
I
right?
went there. That was the good old days.
Mhm.
Yeah, it doesn't exist. The 5 sense objects. Where are we?
The
5 sense objects, the 5 sense organs, the 5 knowledge acquiring senses, and the mind are the 16 material expansions. These combined with the living entity and are influenced by the Jamuna jellies, by the 3 modes of material nature. Thus, the existence of the conditioned soul is understood. I can't stop thinking of jelly. By virtue of the process of the subtle body, the living entity develops and gives up gross bodies.
Okay.
This is known as the transmigration of the soul. Thus, the soul becomes subjected to different types of so-called enjoyment, lamentation, fear, happiness, and unhappiness.
This is what we're going through.
The caterpillar transports itself from one leaf to another by
Nature analogy.
capturing one leaf before giving up the other. Similarly, according to his previous work, the living entity must capture another body before giving up the one he has. So we're creating that body right now. It's not just like we
Yeah.
die. We're working on our next body right now. This is because the mind is the reservoir of all kinds of desires. So perhaps maybe when people die like unexpectedly, I don't know, I'm just speculating.
Well, let's hear
They
it.
have to do time as a ghost, or maybe they have to be in purgatory because maybe they didn't create their next body yet. What do you think about that? Maybe their karmic thing hasn't run out. They just,
You're saying that
you know what?
someone might
Let's
exist.
skip it. Let's skip it. Let's just skip it. You always 78. As long as we desire to enjoy sense gratification, we create material activities. This is it. So whether it's good activity or bad activity, you get a body. You get a good body. You get a degraded body. You get whatever our choices are, good or bad, you get a body. It's only when we choose a spiritual choice. That's an akarmic reaction. It's a reaction that gives you no reaction.
And let's
look at action that gives you no reaction. Write that down.
Okay. But as it says, as long as we desire to enjoy sense gratification, and again, people may say, well, what's the problem with enjoying life, right? It's like, you're telling me that I'm supposed to not enjoy? No, the idea is that we think that our happiness is derived through the senses. And as long as we're locked in that conception, we create material activities, which create material bodies. But when we understand that, yes, I get these I get sensations through the senses, some pleasant, some unpleasant, but I recognize that that's not the source of true, genuine happiness, contentment, satisfaction, that's actually my true nature within. That's when we stop the creation of the cycles. That's when we break the cycles of new.
So this idea of the pleasure is within, we can all get that. The pleasure is from within. We get that. That pleasure within, that doesn't create new bodies. That creates us giving up giving up all that goes with the fake identity. All of the costume goes at that point. Okay.
We could finish this chapter today, Rogan. You're rolling now.
I'm rolling. As long as Merrick, you should always know that the cosmic manifestation is created, maintained, and annihilated by the will of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Consequently, everything within the cosmic manifestation is under the control of the Lord. To be enlightened by this perfect knowledge, one should always engage himself in bhakti, or devotional service of the Lord.
So it's saying that, hey, try to understand, this isn't just some random realm that you're roaming around in. This is a system. This is a virtual reality. It's designed for a purpose, right? There's someone behind it all who's created it for a purpose. Try to understand that. It's not just like it's a big random
realm. Hi, we're random realm. That's all we're getting today. It's 8:58, sir. People love lives.
All right. Okay.
But that was good. That was good,
Thank you,
Mara.
I enjoyed it. We're going to get together.
Give us some little goodies, please. Give us some goodies so we can put in our slipper socks.
It's the cutest. Well, first, I never did any announcements today.
Oh, we just breezed right over the announcements and went right to ice skating.
No, we went right to Jamuna Jelly, which is reasonable. Our show tomorrow will be at 8 a.m. is the important thing I wanted to say.
Okay.
And there's also Michelle Berger is offering a Patreon class, an asana class for our Patreon members at 3 p.m. today.
At 3 p.m., Michelle Berger. We were just appreciating Michelle Berger yesterday, weren't we?
We were, yes.
Nice.
And Mike. Okay.
Banjo Mike.
Some takeaways. Everything that seems important now is inconsequential and unrecallable in our next life.
So it's a dream.
Yeah. Our old neighborhoods are like a dream.
But there's always something there to remind me, Ragnar.
There's always something there to remind me.
Kostuba, how can you?
He set me up.
Oh, did they freeze? This time they froze. Okay, you're back.
Oh.
You froze for a second. That wasn't me. That was you.
We're passing through bodies even during our sleep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Different states of consciousness. Yeah.
Choose spiritual choices.
Choose spiritual choices.
That's a coffee mug.
Make
You see, when Ragnar's got that arm behind the head like that, that's when he's
really like, I don't like staying up late.
That's when he's in his executive
back
Hollywood
after,
executive mood.
It's
right?
not Hollywood executive. It's like, I can't do this to my body. I gotta go to bed early.
All right.
I have to. We were at the 9:30 show. There was a show after our show. There was like a midnight show.
On like a Tuesday night. I was like, who can stay up that late?
You New Yorkers.
I was telling you this at the beginning of the show, and you were denying it, Ragnar. I said, you're getting older. You can't do this running around.
That's true.
Like a kid.
We're working on our next body right now.
Oh, no.
Maybe it's good news.
Understand the purpose of the virtual reality.
How the heck did you do the pandemic, the lockdown in New York City? What did you do?
I went out to the park every day.
You just walked in circles around your apartment?
I went out to the it was only
they allowed you to go to the park?
A month or something like that, that it was like heavy lockdown.
I would lose my marbles.
I used to go up on the roof.
And cry?
Okay.
And
oh yeah.
surrender and shrink the karmic stockpile.
Oh, there you go. Shrink that karmic stockpile.
Shrink it. Shrinky dinks. Remember Shrinky dinks? Jamuna Jelly does.
Oh, I got the wrong song going here. What am I doing?
You got to start the show.
You want to start another one? Just keep going.
Let's just keep going. It's all day. Imagine an all-day Wisdom of the Sages marathon fundraiser.
Well, that's what I was saying. Like, if you add up all 905 now, it's like less than 4 days.
No, that's it.
Yeah, we could do it in 4 days.
We could do 900 shows in 4 days. You know, that would be pretty interesting. No, you got to sleep though. But you could eat. We could switch off eating. We could throw some Sweet Baby Krishnas.
Marish Prickett did.
No. Like Kostuba eats while I do the show, and then vice versa.
Oh, I see. Okay, hand off. I say we just don't eat for 4 days. We just do it.
Oh, it's a Purnima today. It's a full moon. A 40-day fast. That'd be interesting too.
Oh, he's right. It's 40 days. It's not 4 days. Is that right?
40 days. Thank you, Roger.
Okay, that sounds better. Is it?
Is it?
Is it though?
Is it that? Is it?
Yeah, it is. Okay. 50 days.
50 days. Why are we trusting Roger Tompkins? He's got it. He corrected us. That
Anybody
he got
that
it
throws
wrong.
anything out there, we're gonna accept.
We're like, okay. He lives in San Luis Obispo. He must be right.